So imagine you're going to an ATM to just withdraw a little cash.
Right.
But instead of handing you like $20 bills, the screen stops and asks you to vote on federal aviation laws.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a jarring image.
Right? It's this total collision of completely different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And well, that's essentially what happened on June 11th, 2026.
Yeah, it really was a wild day.
On that specific Thursday, the AI industry, I mean, it stopped just building software and started, permanently rewriting the global economy.
Exactly.
So for you listening to this, understanding this single day is basically like getting the blueprint for the next decade of, well, technology and finance.
It really is a watershed moment. And having a reliable guide through all this noise is crucial.
Definitely.
So today, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the notes and the synthesis in the Tech Reader AI Digest by Aaron Rose.
Which is such a great source.
It is. It does a brilliant job capturing the sheer scale of what occurred across those 24 hours. We're looking at a day where the theoretical promise of artificial intelligence, hardened into staggering industrial reality.
Yeah, and I was going through the digest, and honestly, it's almost overwhelming.
Oh, for sure.
Because we aren't talking about, like, a new chatbot writing slightly better poetry anymore.
No, not at all.
We are looking at sprawling physical infrastructure plays, coordinated attempts to write federal law, and incredibly stealthy corporate sales strategies. And all of it hitting the news cycle at the exact same time.
Which is exactly why we need to examine this. I mean, if you're trying to understand where your investments or your career or even just your company's tech budget are heading, you have to look at who owns the concrete, the electricity, the legal frameworks, and the corporate pipelines.
Right.
The stakes have absolutely moved from the laboratory straight into the boardroom.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start at the very bottom of that stack because, well, everything requires physical hardware.
Always does.
And the hardware story on June 11th is anchored by, literally, the largest initial public offering in human history.
It's massive.
I'm looking at the numbers from the SpaceX IPO pricing the digest, and they, honestly, they just don't look real to me.
Yeah, they're staggering.
They raised $75 billion, which shatters the previous record that Saudi Aramco set. But then there's this very weird detail.
It's share count.
Yes. They offered exactly 555,555,555 shares at a fixed price of $135 each.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't feel like a calculated investment banking decision. It feels like an Easter egg left by a tech founder.
Well, it's definitely a signature move, but the financial implications of that math are entirely serious.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that actually translate to?
So at that $135 fixed price, the implied valuation for SpaceX lands between $1.75 and $1.77 trillion.
Wow.
Yeah. On day one of trading, that drops them right in as the fourth largest company in the world.
Day one. That's unbelievable.
It is. But to put that in perspective, they are trading at roughly 110 times their trailing revenue.
Wait, hold on. Let's clarify that for a second. Trailing revenue, that means we're looking at the money they actually made over the last 12 months, right? Not like some optimistic future projection.
Correct. It means the market is valuing the company at 110 times what they brought in last year.
That is just an astronomically high expectation for future growth.
Exactly. It assumes they're going to totally dominate multiple sectors simultaneously for years to come.
And here is where I get, really confused by the mechanics of this specific IPO.
Okay.
The digest notes, they allocated roughly 30% of those public shares to retail investors.
Yeah, the everyday traders.
Right. Everyday people trading on apps. Because a standard deal of this magnitude might see, what, a 5 to 10% retail allocation?
At most, yeah.
So what happens when you dump 30% of a nearly $2 trillion company onto everyday traders at the exact same price the hedge funds are paying?
Well, you basically guarantee unprecedented volatility.
Really?
Because the mechanics of retail psychology are fundamentally different from institutional strategy.
Okay, how so?
Think about it. A large pension fund or a hedge fund buys a stock with a mandate to hold it, right? That stabilizes the price.
Makes sense.
But retail day traders, on the other hand, they're highly reactive. They buy on momentum and they often panic sell based on emotion or, whatever is trending on social media.
Oh, right. So it's way less stable.
Exactly. And by bypassing a traditional auction and going with a fixed price, the market hasn't had a chance to express its honest institutional opinion on that $1.77 trillion price tag.
Oh.
So when the opening bell rings, you are unleashing millions of reactive retail shares into the wild. It is a monumental experiment in price discovery playing out live on the NASDAQ.
So why are these major players paying this massive premium? I mean, we know SpaceX launches rockets, but the digest strongly suggests the valuation isn't really about space at all.
No, it's far from it. While their satellite internet service, Starlink, is, a strong profit engine.
Right, the digest says they posted a $1.19 billion operating profit in Q1.
Exactly, with over 10 million subscribers. But the real gravitational pull here is xAI and the Colossus data center.
The AI chips.
Yeah. Elon Musk built the world's largest private cluster of specialized AI chips. SpaceX has essentially become the premier publicly traded landlord of the AI infrastructure era.
That is exactly the part that stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
Because xAI isn't just building their own models.
No.
They're renting out that sprawling server space to their direct competitors.
Yeah.
According to the digest, Google is paying SpaceX $920 million a month.
It's wild.
And Anthropic is paying an astonishing $1.25 billion a month every single month through 2029.
Just let that number sit with you for a second. $1.25 billion a month purely for compute power.
Just to keep the lights on.
Exactly, just to keep the servers processing data so their AI models can learn and function. It fundamentally changes the economics of the entire technology sector.
So you can't just operate out of a garage anymore.
No, those days are long gone.
Well, if Anthropic is writing a check for $1.25 billion every 30 days to their new publicly traded landlord, they must be under just immense pressure to generate cash.
Oh, absolutely.
Which perfectly explains their behavior on this exact same Thursday. I mean, they certainly weren't sitting quietly.
No, they were making waves that might actually reach further than the SpaceX IPO, honestly.
Because Anthropic had a dizzying week. In the span of just a few days, they launched their most advanced and expensive model to date, which is Fable 5.
Right.
And at the same time, they filed a confidential S1. Can you explain what filing that document confidentially actually signals to the market?
Sure. So an S1 is the foundational registration document a company has to file with the SEC before they can go public and sell shares.
Okay.
It contains all their intimate financial details, their risks, their business models, and filing it confidentially is a strategic mechanism.
How does that help them?
It allows a company to get the regulatory paperwork rolling and, answer the SEC's questions behind closed doors.
No, so nobody else can see it.
Exactly. Without revealing their financial playbook to competitors like OpenAI or Google until the very last minute before the IPO roadshow begins.
Wow. So they are quietly lining up to raise billions from the public.
Yes.
But the public-facing move they made was much, much louder.
You're very loud.
Their CEO, Dario Amodei, published this sweeping policy essay titled Policy on the AI Exponential. And he made two very concrete commitments in it.
Right, the labor fund and the regulation.
Exactly. First, he pledged $350 million to manage the labor market displacement caused by AI.
And that breaks down into a $200 million economic futures research fund, plus a $150 million national fellowship program for early career Americans.
Now, for anyone listening who might be worried about their own job security, I mean, that sounds like a noble gesture.
It does.
But $350 million is honestly a drop in the bucket compared to their monthly server bill.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels like a carefully calculated public relations shield. And the second part of the essay reinforces that feeling for me.
The part about the FAA?
Yes. Amodei proposed that the U.S. government should have the standing legal authority to block or reverse the release of frontier AI models if they fail independent safety testing.
Yeah.
And he explicitly compared this to the Federal Aviation Administration.
And the FAA comparison is incredibly stark, if you think about it.
Because they have real power.
Right. The FAA doesn't just suggest safety guidelines or issue a few fines. They have the authority to ground entire global fleets of airplanes overnight if they discover a fundamental flaw.
Oh, wow.
Amodei is basically suggesting AI models need the equivalent of a federal airworthiness certificate.
I look at this and honestly, it just doesn't make sense on the surface.
How so?
Okay, imagine a hypercar manufacturer. They build the fastest, most dangerously powerful car on the planet.
Okay.
And the exact same week, they put that car on the showroom floor, which Anthropic literally just did by releasing Fable 5. The CEO goes to Congress and begs them to impose a strict 30-mile-per-hour speed limit on all cars. What is the actual game plan here? Is this genuine institutional accountability, or is it just pre-IPO positioning?
Well, the digest references a brilliant concept to explain this. It's called the Reuters wire test.
What's that?
It's an old editorial principle stating that a reporter must plainly state both halves of a contradictory reality in the exact same breath.
Oh, interesting.
And the reality here is that Anthropic is simultaneously the loudest voice warning the world about AI's catastrophic dangers.
While selling it.
Exactly. While also being the company most aggressively commercializing those exact capabilities.
It is literal corporate cognitive dissonance.
It is, but from a strategic standpoint, especially ahead of an IPO, it's a masterclass.
Because it makes them look responsible.
Exactly. By asking the government to heavily regulate the industry, they are effectively advocating for laws that will constrain their own products.
Right.
The narrative is that they are willing to tax themselves to pay for the societal impact of their technology. It sends a powerful signal to institutional investors that Anthropic is the mature adult in the room.
We know the regulations are coming, so we are going to write them ourselves.
Precisely. And beyond the optics, there is a concept called regulatory capture.
Okay, what does that mean in this context?
Well, if Anthropic convinces the government to require FAA-level safety testing, compliance is going to cost millions, maybe billions of dollars.
Which Anthropic can easily afford.
Right. But a small, lean startup in a college dorm room, they cannot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anthropic is essentially begging for a regulatory moat so high that no new competitor can ever afford to cross it.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
And as the source points out, Anthropic already secured enterprise distribution through Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure to help fund this entire operation.
Right. They have the pipelines to sell Fable 5.
Which means their biggest rival, OpenAI, must be feeling the heat. If Anthropic is locking down distribution to survive those huge compute bills, OpenAI absolutely needs a countermove.
And OpenAI's countermove on June 11th was arguably the most quietly devastating business maneuver of the whole day. Yeah, they took a highly strategic route straight into the heart of the enterprise market.
Okay, this brings us to the third major event in the digest. OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank announced a vast expansion of their Stargate AI data center footprint.
Yes.
They are adding 5 new sites to join their flagship campus in Abilene, Texas.
Oh.
And the hardware is no joke.
The Blackwell racks?
Yeah, the Abilene site is already receiving the first NVIDIA GB200 Blackwell Ultra racks. So they were literally stacking the physical chips as we speak.
Right.
But the second half of this announcement, well, it has nothing to do with engineering at all.
No. It completely shifts into a procurement story, which, let's be real, is where the real money is made.
Here is where it gets really interesting. The announcement states that Oracle customers can now use their existing eligible Oracle Universal credits to pay for OpenAI models directly through Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, which is commonly known as OCI. Now, think about your own company's IT department. If you've ever had to request a new software vendor in a Fortune 500 company, you know it is a slow, bureaucratic nightmare.
Oh, setting up a new vendor relationship can take 6 to 9 months.
At least.
You've got legal reviews, data privacy audits, and budget approvals from multiple departments. It's endless.
Exactly. So think of Oracle as essentially the VIP bouncer at the Fortune 500 nightclub.
I like that analogy.
If OpenAI tries to get in the front door, they have to wait in line for months to be searched by IT and legal.
Right.
But by allowing companies to use existing Oracle credits, OpenAI just walked through the kitchen door wearing a staff uniform.
They bypass the entire line.
They bypass the line. They're sneaking their frontier models onto budgets that corporate legal departments already approved 3 years ago.
It's incredible.
So I have to ask you, isn't this less about technological innovation and entirely about ruthlessly efficient sales? What is OpenAI actually buying with this partnership?
They are buying frictionless revenue.
Frictionless revenue.
Exactly. The Digest author explicitly points out that the OCI integration is not a technological breakthrough. It is purely a sales mechanism.
Okay.
Because building sprawling data centers like the Stargate expansion is completely useless if you cannot sell the compute you're generating.
Right. It just sits there.
You can have all the advanced Blackwell Ultra racks on the planet, but if corporate clients aren't buying the output, the entire operation collapses under its own weight.
So who exactly is Oracle's client base that OpenAI wants access to so badly?
Oh, Oracle is deeply entrenched in the most lucrative, stable sectors of the global economy.
Like who?
We are talking about massive healthcare networks, global financial services, government agencies, and heavy manufacturing.
The big money.
Yes. These are institutions that already trust Oracle with their most sensitive data. OpenAI just drafted right in behind that decades-old trust.
It is a brilliant hack of the corporate budget process.
And it crystallizes the macro view of the industry. The enterprise distribution race has truly become a two-platform contest.
Right.
Anthropic is relying on AWS and Azure to push their models. OpenAI now has Azure and Oracle.
Wow.
This is the revenue engine. This is how you fuel the upcoming S1 roadshows, and more importantly, this is how you generate the continuous river of cash required to pay for those staggering infrastructure contracts we discussed with SpaceX.
Let's bring this all together for everyone, because the picture Aaron Rose paints in this digest is phenomenal.
It really is a complete loop.
Right. In a single Thursday, we watch the entire life cycle of the modern AI economy operate as a closed loop.
Yeah.
At the foundation, you have SpaceX cashing in on the physical servers, executing a record-breaking IPO to cement their status as the landlord of the compute era.
The infrastructure layer.
Exactly. Then moving up to the model layer, you have Anthropic scrambling to write the regulatory rulebook, building legal moats to protect themselves before they take their own company public.
The policy layer.
Yep. And finally, at the distribution layer, you have OpenAI bypassing the Fortune 500 procurement process, using Oracle to ensure the enterprise budgets just keep flowing.
It is a self-sustaining ecosystem of immense capital and influence.
It really is.
And the reason this matters to you directly is that the AI revolution has completely moved out of the experimental phase.
Yeah, we're past chatbot.
Way past. The decisions made by these three entities on June 11th are actively writing federal laws. They are actively rewriting your company's IT budget.
Right.
They are cementing the technological boundaries that will dictate how we interact with information for the next 10 years.
It really is the architecture of a new economy being poured in concrete.
Beautifully said.
But as we wrap up, there was one tiny detail buried all the way down in the quick hits section of today's source material that I honestly just can't stop thinking about.
Oh, the Google model.
Yes, there was a brief note about Google's Gemini team. They released something called Diffusion Gemma.
Right.
The digest describes it as an experimental open weights model, and by using text diffusion, it can generate over 1,000 tokens a second on a single standard H100 chip.
It's a massive technical leap.
Okay, can you translate that jargon for us? What are open weights and text diffusion?
Sure. So open weights means the core brain of the AI model, the underlying parameters that dictate how it thinks, is freely available for anyone to download, inspect, and modify.
So it's not locked down.
Right. You don't have to access it through a corporate paywall.
Got it. And text diffusion?
Text diffusion is a fascinating structural shift. Traditional AI models generate text sequentially, predicting the next word one at a time.
Like autocomplete.
Exactly. But diffusion models generate the entire block of text all at once, refining it from noise into coherence, much like how AI image generators work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And a token is essentially a chunk of a word. So generating 1,000 tokens a second on a standard older generation chip is a staggering leap in efficiency.
So wait, we just spent this entire deep dive talking about massive trillion-dollar monopolies, spending billions of dollars to build incredibly expensive, heavily regulated walled gardens.
Yeah.
But you have to wonder, will the ultimate disruption to all these trillion-dollar business plans actually come from the open source community?
It's the multi-billion-dollar question.
Because these open models are quietly getting faster, cheaper, and wildly more efficient, completely outside the walls of SpaceX, Anthropic, and OpenAI.
And it's the classic blind spot for any dominant player, right?
What do you mean?
Well, they focus so intently on building their walls higher to block their immediate corporate rivals, they fail to notice the ground shifting entirely beneath them.
And that shifting ground is exactly why we do these deep dives, to look past the trillion-dollar headlines and find those quiet innovations that might change everything.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us as we unpack the June 11th digest. Keep questioning the narratives, keep looking for those kitchen door corporate strategies, and we'll see you next time.